So, welcome to this Campus Gegenwart lecture series evening on the theme of AUFBEWAHREN, Archive and Kanon, and very much welcome Jee-Ae Lim. Very nice that you're here. I will shortly introduce you. So you're a dancer and choreographer, and you were trained in traditional Korean dance, and you studied a master in solo dance authorship at HCT Berlin, at the Hochschulübergreifendes Zentrum Tanz Berlin. And in a way, you're kind of dealing with questions of how to bring a traditional dance techniques together with questions of contemporary dance or also contemporaneity. I think one of the things, from my little knowledge of Korean dance, of traditional Korean dance, which I actually have through you, I know that it's, in my understanding, it's a dance form that is coded in the sense that specific movements mean specific things. Yeah. And I think one of the things you were interested in, or you are interested in, is this question: how does an audience here in Germany or also in the West actually understand that you're deviating from this traditional form of dance? And also in a way, like, how could you make it accessible without maybe over-explaining it, or sort of accessing it on a poetic level? Yeah. And another thing that also has been quite present, I think, is this question of embodiment. Sort of, if we speak about canon or tradition, to which degree is it something that is embodied, that the body holds, or that is kind of, or the body as a side also of culture, of cultural memory, and how that kind of, how maybe the body becomes this intersection also between something that belongs to the past and something that belongs to the present. And in this regard, I think also the experience of diaspora, of living in a country where you're not culturally maybe rooted, plays into this. After studying the Master's in Dance Authorship, you've been successfully producing work at different venues in different cities. And for this and the coming year, you're actually a fellow of the Pina Bausch Foundation. And maybe, I don't know, this is a project you might also be speaking a little bit more about, but I'll leave this to you. Yeah. Very nice that you're here.
Thank you.
And I also just said that we record the talk, but then we turn off the camera for the conversation.
Okay. Thank you.
And I will be sitting at the light switch, because for the videos it's not ideal. So for the videos I will turn off the light and then I turn it back on.
Okay. Thank you for coming. If my voice is small, then just let me know. Also, thank you for inviting me for this talk. I'm happy to be here. And while I was preparing this talk, I was able to sort of revisit and also reflect my practices and also research and some of choreographic works. And I'm very excited to share with you today. And a month ago, I came back from my field research in Kobe, Japan. So I will share some materials, experience, and also impressions from that research trip. So I will start with talking about my practice a little bit, and then I will also share the process of my research on migration of dance. And I will basically talk while reading my note, and we also show some videos and photos and also movement demonstrations. And please interrupt me if there is something not clear for you. Yeah. As Frita introduced me, I studied traditional Korean dance, and also I learned ballet, modern dance, and contemporary dance in Korea. And traditional dance has been sort of an inspiring force and also impetus for generating questions in my practice and also performance making. And my dance practice often departs from like quotation samples and examples from existing dance repertoires and also historical archives and body memories. In terms of body memory, which I find most vulnerable and at the same time most reliable reference and resource in my work. And these materials are borrowed and questioned and also translated and transformed through experimentation, with various different mediums. And especially when I work with the memory that is personal and collective, I often observe the process of translation that serves as a mode of transitioning from one mode to another mode. And here, I'm less interested in establishing hierarchy between the original material and where I am arriving, but rather what matters to me is the dynamic. So the process of movement, moving from one state to another. So in my work, translation sort of allows me to re-establish or dismantle already existing archives or materials. So, and it's almost like sacred and untouchable quality and canon. So in my practice, I explore like strategies and methodologies for rearranging and also reimagining the existing knowledge to give different layers and also give them sort of a sense of timeless and ongoing presence through the practice. So, so now you see 3 images which are sharing the similar postures. On the left side, it's me and my collaborator Neji Pijin, the Japanese choreographer who used to be Buto dancer. And this photo is from a work titled Reprise. We performed in 2014, 10 years ago. And in this performance, we explored a wide range of archival materials related to Korean dance and also Buto. And we accidentally find these black and white images. So you see in the middle, it features a Japanese choreographer, Michio Ito, with black hair. But we couldn't find any information about the other performer and when was it taken. And on the right side, you see Lucien Dennis and her husband Ted Shon. It's a performance titled Sochil. I'm not sure if the pronunciation. It was taken 1915. And we don't know which came first, but these choreographers were living the same period. And what is interesting for us was like, it seems like they are referencing each other. And also this Lucien Dennis' work were a lot inspired by Eastern philosophies, aesthetics, and practices. And also Wikipedia said this Japanese choreographer, Michio Ito, was a pioneer of modern dance. He was very much active in America and also studied in Germany, Dresden. So there might be, it was our speculation, there might be a crossing point in this reference of posture. So, so in this performance Reprise, our intention was we go through a lot of archival materials and we use this material as a database for dancing. So we were exploring the act of remembering dance through translation and reinterpretation by allowing these materials kind of shape and transform our practice. So in this image, what is interesting is not the posture itself, but what comes before and after this posture as a whole choreography of flow and transition. And we were also sharing questions like how far we can bring these archival material for our creation and also what translation implies in this context. Yeah. So, so within these thoughts and also practices around tradition, so since 2018, I have conducted research on migration of dance. And in this research, I trace and reflect migratory routes of traditional dance through the lens of Korean dance within different regional, cultural, and also social contexts where different versions of traditional dance is performed and practiced. So in this talk, I will bring some moments of encounter with dances that have shaped by diasporic journeys, emphasizing the intersection of personal and collective memories, also histories and stories that are inscribed in the bodies, and also drawing from lived experience and also embodied knowledge, I will unfold the complex layers of dance in diasporic conditions and experiences. So in my research, I work with local immigrant dance communities, especially in Berlin, mainly through dance, but also with other mediums and encounters and also long-term collaborations. And for me, when I work with local communities, it is important and it is about building like a lifelong relationship with them, because it's like we are entering each other's lives and we are learning and exchanging not just dance but also much more things. So it's like we are not only dancing and working together, but we are living together, and which fosters sort of like a reciprocal relationships and also connections between us. So the research looks at the question how dance traverses across different geographic and also physical spaces and how it manifests in transmigrant societies. So to mobilize this question, I engage with the notion of memory, archive, canon, and also borders and transmission and translation through dance and also oral storytelling, and also the performativity of listening and singing, voicing, all entangled and woven together as a form of expression. So unattainable archives. Dance is going somewhere by itself, detached from a body. Dance comes from somewhere and goes to somewhere, but never with a fixed direction. The only thing valid is going. Dance that moves does not aim for clarity or understanding, but simply unfold in its journey. During the research on migration of dance, this thought grew into an exploration of how specific body knowledge transmits through different bodies, places, times, cultures, and generations, and how does it endure without fading, yet transforms through negotiation, adaptation, and translation. So the first phase of the research began in 2018, and I explored Korean immigrant dance communities in Germany, France, and Poland, Hawaii, and Japan. So it was quite a long journey for the last 6 years. And my interest in immigrant-situated dance began with my encounter with traditional Korean dance performances from Korean immigrant communities in Berlin. So while these communities actively involve in practicing and performing their traditional culture, their efforts often go under-recognized. So the research brings the marginalized immigrant communities forefront to ponder how dance becomes a way to participate in local culture and also enhance the understanding of the community in local society. So among the communities I've encountered, I would like to introduce 2 dance communities, starting with the Kaya Tanzgruppe from Berlin. So the Kaya Tanzgruppe is also called the Kaya Ensemble. It's an amateur Korean dance group established in 1987, consisting of female nurses who migrated from South Korea to West Germany during 60s and 70s as a guest workers. I remember that when I saw their performance in Berlin for the first time, I immediately noticed that a certain judgment was proceeding in me, and I was keep asking to myself, is it Korean dance? And what does it make as such? And what kind of temporality does this dance sort of represent? And I really wanted to know about the community more and also their dance. And one day I visited their studio where they gather sorry, every Tuesday and Thursday to rehearse by themselves. And then I asked them if I could learn their version of Korean dance. And luckily, until now, we spend time together dancing. Sorry. Dancing together, and also share food, and also share like a countless stories around dance, and also our immigrant experiences. And I realized that there is so much to tell, and so much life in their movements, stories, and emotions that went unheard, unseen, yet felt. Sorry. And I began to understand how the community is built through the emotional bonds and shared memories attached to the dance. And dance doesn't seek originality or perfection. Instead, by practicing their own tradition, they deepen their community's presence and open pathways for others to connect. So from my perspective, through dance, their body becomes a contact surface where different techniques, context, and conditions come into contact and dialogue. Sorry. Oh, thank you. This you see this photo. It was taken 1991. So one of the members was remembering about performance, like they were participating in the summer festival at presidential residence in Berlin, the Schloss Bellevue. She said that there were 200 or 300 people were gathered from all over the world, and she was so proud of herself and also her group. They were able to sort of introduce and show this one of the most well-known dance repertoire of Buchechum, this fan dance from Korea. Yeah. So they spent years teaching themselves, relying on their bodies as a repository of memory. Rehearsing dance is a process of interweaving different temporalities and individual memories into a shared one. If some parts of choreography are forgotten, they freely modify and reimagine the choreography. So from my perspective, this flexibility softens the rigid rules and norms in tradition, and also this is where their creativity emerges. So while dancing together with them, I came to understand how the oral transmission of memory that conveys movement, language, and emotions as a one single form of expression plays a vital role in transmission of dance, and also by inscribing cultural language, expressions, and nuances into their body itself becomes home. Yeah. So through this encounter, I found myself continuously reflecting on what it means to dance and view the dance through the lens of a diaspora experience. And it wasn't just about observing the transmission of dance, but it was about acknowledging dance that cultivates communal and mutual relationships, and also envisioning its embodiment in its context. And also I realized that the intimate and reciprocal gestures that are central to decolonial and diasporic struggles. And I personally thought that being physically distanced from my homeland sort of creates a space to question the established canon and hierarchy within tradition, and allowing for the agency in negotiating identities and cultures. And I saw dance is everywhere as a shared practice, and dance doesn't stay centered, and it doesn't stay in the area of expertise, and the knowledge of dance doesn't come down from the top vertically, So while witnessing these, my question has shifted from what is Korean dance to who can dance it. So yeah, what does it mean that dance moves somewhere on its own? When art in one region departs to place, being transferred to a third place, and going through a third body, the intrinsic vocabularies it is tinged with do not die out, but they are actually continuing in a new way and connected to another world. Dance remains in the body through the act of remembering. And later, I invited 2 performers from the group, and we made 2 performances together. So the first one was titled Mountain, Cloud and Tiger, which premiered at the Sophiensäle in Berlin in 2019. So I will explain about the performance while watching the video. So in this award, we developed the choreographies and scores that respond to our movement histories, and also body as a reality, and also material, phenomenon, and also the first layer of life. We used our body as an inspiring force for this creation. And in this performance, it's not about that we introduce Korean dance, but we dropped the part. But we were asking questions like, how can we be together, and how can we sort of collaborate to hold the space together, and also how can we develop a mutual relationship to move together through the performance. And we also try to go beyond practicing and representing our relationship that is bound to like national, ethnic, and cultural identity, but rather encourage us to invent new ties and new connections between us. So, and in the creation, in the beginning, we were very fast to catch the similarities between us, but through the process, we also realized that we are different. So for us, it was important to understand and also respect the differences between us without losing the sense of togetherness. So it has to be also reinterpreted not only in dance but also in our relationship through the performance. Yeah. So we this year, last July, we also created another performance titled "Like a River Runs Through Us." So we are going to watch the video. It's going to be about 6 minutes long.
Möchte ich eine Hommage an meinen Mann senden. Südkorea. Weilt nämlich nicht mehr neben mir. Ich habe meinen Titel so formuliert. Das ist ein Gedicht von Rainer Margaret. Als du mich einst gefunden hast, da war ich klein, so klein. Und blühte wie ein Lindenast nur still in dich hinein. Vor Kleinheit war ich namenlos und sehnte mich so hin, bis du mir sagst, dass ich zu groß für jeden Namen bin. Da fühle ich, dass ich eines bin, mit Mitte, Mai und Meer und wie der Duft des Weines bin ich deiner Seele schwer. 1960 bis 1970ern, da kamen 9.000 Krankenschwestern, davon eine Weih, und 10.000 Bergleute nach Deutschland. Einen Nachmittag bekam ich eine Mitarbeiter-Weihnachtsfeier. Schwestern, Ärzte, Labor, Röntgenabteilung, Apotheke, Gänsekeule und Brotkohl und Kartoffelklöße. Tiergegessen und auch Getränke. Da habe ich etwa Fischertanz in Korean mitgebracht und gelernt hatten. Also 11. März 1971, als ich am Frankfurt am Main Flughafen ankam, wurde mit einem Bus uns abgeholt. In der regnerischen Nacht stundenlang gefahren. Ich wusste nicht, wohin sie uns hinfahren und wohin sie uns bringen. Es kam mir ewig lange vor. Und ich hatte ein wenig Angst und ich war müde. Diese Zeit, viele ältere Patienten liegen auf der Station. Sie sind meistens Kriegswitwe. Sie erzählten aus des Kriegsgefallenen ihren Mann tiefer Trauer und Schmerz. Sie haben schwere Zeit erlebt, Hunger und Not. Deswegen sind sie so sparsam. Sie legen im Nachtisch Marmelade, Butter, Brot, bisschen rührt. Auf den Stationen waren 2 Blondinenschwestern. Ich habe immer verwechselt. Und da habe ich eine Notiz gemacht. Und Schwester Gisela hat goldblonde Haare. Und Schwester Gabi hat schöne blonde Haare und mit großen Blauaugen. Wenn die Augen aufmacht, so hübsch wie eine Puppe. Ich hatte so neugierig auf den blonden Haar. Und ich habe Gabi gefragt, Schwester Gabi, darf ich deine Haare anpassen? Ja, mach du. Ich habe den Kamm genommen und den blonden Haar gekämmt und gezaugt. Es ist so weich wie Seide.
Ja, ich habe auch ein bisschen früher aufgehört, weil ich meine Wirbelsäule schon abgenutzt und nicht mehr bewegen konnte. Aber jetzt geht's wieder. Und wir haben dann auch schon nicht nur hier in Berlin aufgetreten, sondern auch im Ausland haben wir auch schon mal, und auch in Korea haben wir auch schon mal aufgetreten. So eine koreanische Feier habe ich hier auch da die Leute Gesellschaftstanz, also Standardtanz tanzen sehen, und das fand ich auch ganz toll. Zum Beispiel Cha-Cha-Cha. 1, 2, Cha-Cha-Cha. 1, 2, Cha-Cha-Cha. 2, Cha-Cha-Cha.
Lights on?
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Reality. So the performance embraces oral storytelling as a form of expression, And in the performance, 4 performers are simultaneously telling their stories of living in Germany, about family, language, and also job, dance, and also experience of marginalization, and so on. And as I already mentioned, that like while dancing together, we also shared tons of stories together, and also and these are the stories that were shared during rehearsals and breaks and shared meals. And these stories are sort of accumulated in me and also somewhere between us. And from my experience, and when I listen their story, I listen more things than what is being told. And I sense and feel, because the story is not delivering just fact and information, but it conveys really complex layers emotions that are attached to their stories and their life. So for me, there is very strong sense of affect, and also it's like you attend to someone else's emotion and someone else's life. And there is also very strong this performativity of listening. And so, but this performance is not so much about telling story, but rather listening. And for us, it had to be done through expression rather than representation. Yeah, these are the sort of motivation behind this performance. Yeah. So the next community that I want to share is Chinese Korean. It's an ethnic Korean diaspora living in Japan. So the second phase of the research began in 2020, and it's still going on. So I would like to share my recent field research in Kobe, Japan. In this research, I was focusing on Joseon dance, in other words, North Korean dance. So in this research, I explored the lives of Chinese Koreans in Japan and the diasporic narratives of Joseon dance, which have been dispersed by war, division, and colonialism. So before I continue, I want to explain the term about Joseon. So Joseon was a country before the division of Korea, and it was also a colony of Japan between 1910 to 1945. So the country Joseon is no longer existing today. So, and Chinese Koreans, particularly those who came earlier, are descendants of people who moved to Japan during those times. And however, the term Joseon, in Joseon dance and Joseon language and Joseon nationality, have been understood as a term that orients towards North Korea. So, with this historical background, Joseon dance exists within the complex historical and political tensions between North and South Korea and Japan. So in this talk, I will use the term Joseon dance as it is used in Chinese Korean communities in Japan instead of North Korean dance. Yeah. So the Korean dance that I learned as a young is one of the lineages of this Joseon dance. And as a young, I was always like curious and wondered how this dance would appear in North Korea. So this curiosity has driven my research and fueled by a personal aspiration to trace the migratory routes of my dance heritage. When I found this shared root in Joseon dance, I felt familiar and distant at the same time, and which creates confusions. And I saw this as an opportunity to explore diasporic narratives and its new context of Joseon dance. So due to the division of Korea, I indirectly accessed Joseon dance that is inherited by Chinese Korean communities, especially those who have complex emotional ties to North Korea as their emotional motherland, while being marginalized in their current society in Japan. So by careful research and exchange with the fourth generation of Chinese Korean dancer Hemi-jo, who trained in Pyongyang in North Korea, I explore how dance becomes a means of narrating ancestral roots and preserving memories of a place beyond one's physical reach. And furthermore, I reflect on the intertwining the personal, collective, ethnic, national, and diasporic identities, as well as imagining the identities that transcend all these categories. So I want to share some of questions that raised during my research. Could one return to a place where you have not been before? How can times and places that are not remembered be told through dance? Can a non-experienced cultural memory be restored and reconfigured through dance? How can dance express national feelings towards a non-accessible and non-existing homeland? And what does it mean to preserve the traditional culture of such a place? What would it mean to inherit the memory to the generation that never lived those times? And how does the experience of rupture, continuity, and discontinuity in knowledge transmission open creative possibilities in artist research? So, while thinking about these questions, I have observed performances by chosen troops called Gamudan. The troops primarily visit areas where Chinese Korean communities reside, and they offer performances to encourage, with encouragement while showing solidarity with the communities. And now we are going to watch a short clip of the performance of the Gamudan. Yeah, thank you. So it is a small utopia. The dance, yes, please. The dance and community serve as a doorway to the past and a place that you have been longing for. You dance and sing that comfort you. You eat your own food and you speak and listen in your own language. You have tears of joy. It is a community of joy. It is a community tied together by emotional bonds and collectively dreaming of home where no longer accessible or exist, yet still provide a sense of belonging. It is a dance you never learn or you simply know. Here dance becomes a way to express the longing for an impossible return to an idealized past by shedding the negative aspects of being a marginalized diaspora. So the dance of Chinese Koreans commemorates what we cannot remember or what exists among what is not remembered. Yeah, so now I want to talk a little bit about some archives that I was able to access through my research. So in the 1970s, Chosun dance began being transmitted from North Korea on ships, where Chinese Korean dancers received training from North Korean artists. And I'm going to read a testimony from a dancer who experienced it. ships stayed at Niigata port in Japan for about 2 days, and during that time, we secretly met below deck, avoiding the Red Cross workers. We learned from renowned artists from the north. There was also a famous sword dancer. We were overjoyed, but didn't have time to cry. We could sneak in the early morning with 3 or 4 of us, and learning everything within 2 days. Since we couldn't record any videos back then, we had no choice but to rely on memory. Once we returned, we taught the dances to our troops members. The training included not only choreography, but also music, songs, costumes, stage design, and props. But later, selected dancers were also able to visit the north to train directly. And the song that you are listening is called A Garden in Italy, sung by Seung-hee, a choreographer who remained in North Korea after the division of Korea. And this is one of the few remaining her archive in South Korea. Yeah. And also there is another video that I want to share. Yeah, thank you. She is my collaborator, Hemi Cho, in Kobe. In this video, she is remembering a song that she learned while training herself in Pyongyang, North Korea, as a dancer. And after the song, she explained to me that this song is also existing in South Korea, which I didn't know, but it has been recreated with different lyrics and also in different contexts in North Korea. And I was staying with her and her family about 1 month last October. And this was one of the songs that I was listening every day. And I found it like it is a living archive that sort of upholds the continuity of her identity, roots, and also culture, and also the family histories. And this is how such an archive sort of like remain relevant today, because this is so much attached to her life. Yeah. So I came to recognize and also appreciate the inherent vulnerability and unreliability of the archives and the fragility of both the dance and memory. What fascinated me most was witnessing these archives come to life, taking shape through dance, oral stories, and songs that convey emotions that goes beyond being simply captured or fixed. So the archives can only be felt, heard, and seen in the very moment they unfold. So among the written archives, I was able to access a manual book on the basic movement of Joseon ethnic dance. Was written by Seung-hee. You just listen her song. The book contains gestures and choreographic notations. In this manual book, I noticed gap, missing transitions between individual movements that disrupt the flow. So these blind spots invite me to recompose by blending fragments to imagine the hidden choreography. So in this context, the body and the memory of the dance that I have never seen before remains my most reliable guide. So I would like to show how it would look like. I prepared fans. So. After observing Chosun dance through archives, rehearsals, performances, and competitions, one of the impressions that stayed within me was the speed of the dance. So why is the dance so fast? So a dance that without resistance never seems to be completed. It endlessly flows and accelerates. And the same goes for the unison in facial expressions. So mastering speed and precision in Chosun dance requires ballet training. And I learned that at one point, Chosun dance aspired to position itself as an oriental ballet. So now we're going to watch a training video from Munyedong. It's an English Culture and Arts Alliance of Chinese Koreans. Consists of dance teachers and also former dancers from the Chosun dance troops. Yes, please. Sorry, this is gonna be the last video. Yes, turn off please, yeah. This video was recorded on the last day of my stay in Kobe. On our last day, we chose to dance as a way to respond to these questions while remembering the basic movement of Korean and Chosun dance called the Gibon that we learned from a young age. Through dance, how does a body maintain strong links to its homeland while preserving and negotiating one's cultural identity? How does the experience and the process of migration affect in the sense of physicality, the sense of memory, and the sense of language? How is the trajectory of dance and its historical history adjusted when we relink something that cannot be linked? How should our relationships be formed when a trajectory intervenes in another, when borders are no longer clear? How to meditate on abstract and complex phenomena such as cultural, social, and even political narratives through the medium of dance. Thank you.